In this lecture, we are going to finish the page header block. The edit function is finished. All that's left is to render the block on the front end with server-side rendering. We have already defined a function for handling this process. In your editor, open the pageheader.php file. From this file, we are going to return the template. To get started, we are going to add output buffering. At the top of the function, let's run the obstart function to initialize the output buffer. Next, let's add closing and opening PHP tags. Inside these tags, we will add the template. The template can be grabbed from the index.js file. Let's open this file with our editors. We are going to grab the div tag with the block props object. The fragment element and inspector controls component can be ignored. Next, paste this template into the render function for the page header block. After pasting in the template, we can start closing the buffer. After the opening PHP tag, create a variable called output. Its value will be the obgetContents function. Next, let's call the obEndCleaned function to clear the buffer for other blocks. As I said before, this step is very important. If we don't call this function, our block may contain HTML from other blocks. The output buffer should only contain HTML from the current function. Lastly, let's return the output variable. The basic structure of the function is ready. The final steps are to update the template with the appropriate classes and attributes. First, we're going to need the attributes. Inside the function's argument list, grab the attributes argument. Next, let's extract the content attribute into a variable called heading. Before setting the variable, we should escape the content with a function called escapeHTML. The escapeHTML function is another function for escaping data. If we're inserting data into HTML tags, we should escape the content. WordPress will strip HTML tags from the value. This is to prevent the content from breaking our HTML document or inserting malicious scripts. However, we're not finished with the header. The client may want to render the category. If that's the case, we should replace this variable's value with the category's name. Previously, we performed this check from within the template. I'm not a huge fan of inserting logic into a template. Unfortunately, React requires a certain style of programming. Luckily, PHP is different. We can outsource the logic outside of the template. After the variable definition, add a conditional statement with the attributes showCategory variable as the condition. PHP will handle converting this attribute into a Boolean value. If this attribute is set to true, we should display the category. Inside the conditional block, let's set the header variable to the getTheArchiveTitle function. The variable should only be updated if the showCategory attribute is true. We're using the getTheArchiveTitle function to get the category of a page. WordPress will handle grabbing the appropriate category. As you might suspect, this function is a template tag. If you're interested in outputting the category directly in the template, you can use this function's counterpart, which is called the archive title. Our attributes are ready. The last step is to update the template. First, we are going to replace the block props object with the class attribute. The only class we're adding is the WP Block Udemy Plus page header class. Next, let's completely replace the expression inside the div tag with the inner page header class. This expression should be replaced with a pair of PHP tags. We're going to echo the heading variable. Our block is complete. Time to start applying this block to our template. Inside your browser, navigate to the full site editor. We are going to modify the category template. Previously, we inserted the header into this template as an HTML block. Similar to the search form block, we are going to replace the HTML block with our custom block. The header can be found below the header template part. Let's completely remove the HTML block from the template. Next, let's insert the page header block. For our first test, let's try checking if the category displays on the page by enabling the Show Category option. After enabling this option, we can save the template. Let's try viewing a category on the front end. If we look below the header of the page, the category appears on the page. I can switch to a different category to check if the header changes. It changes, but it's not perfect. At the top of the page, we are receiving a warning. The warning says the following: undefined index content from page header.php on line 4. The error tells us everything we need to know. If you ever receive an error that says undefined index, the error refers to an array. An undefined index means that an index does not exist within an array. This can be an index with a name or number. According to the error, the index that doesn't exist is called content. The error is coming from the first line in our render function. It is the heading variable definition. On this line, we are grabbing the content attribute. However, if you were to view your block's comment, the content attribute may not be missing. If this attribute exists in the comment, chances are you added content to the block. If you didn't write anything, the content attribute might be missing. The reason we're receiving an error is because WordPress couldn't extract the content attribute from our block. Therefore, we're trying to access an attribute that doesn't exist. This behavior is critical to understand. WordPress does not automatically assign values to your attributes. The client is responsible for providing a value. If an attribute does not have a value during a save, the attribute is skipped. We can avoid this problem by always assigning a default value. In your editor, open the block.json file. Inside the content attribute, add the default property with an initial value of an empty string. Even though the default value is an empty string, WordPress will add the attribute to the block anyway. After making those changes, let's head back to the full site editor. I'm going to quickly refresh the page and re-add the page header block in the same location. The settings will be the same. Next, I'll refresh the page in the browser. The errors have gone away. We've successfully added the block. There's one more thing I want to do. At the moment, the template is stored in the database. The page header block should be a part of the category template. Let's head back to the full site editor. From the list of blocks, copy all the blocks to your clipboard. Next, open the category template from our theme. Replace the existing contents with the new set of blocks. Lastly, let's refresh the template in the browser. At the top of the page, clear the customizations for the template. The page header block should now appear as the default block instead of the HTML block. Great, we're finished with the page header block. Let's discuss some final topics in the next set of lectures related to server-side rendering.